All right, so let's keep going. From question 3, let's move on to question 4. Now, again, for learning purposes, we're going to continue to question 4. And the good thing about this is it's going to show us now an example of where the slope of the line of regression is not significantly different from 0. So the opposite of the previous example. So you're going to kind of see how that works out. All right, so question 4. Does the sample line of regression model the population line of regression with a 95% confidence level? So what we have to do is we have to come up with this confidence interval around the slope of our line of regression. And so we do that using Lin-Reg T interval on the Texas Instruments calculator. So I'm going to come over here to the Texas Instruments, and if I go to Stat and then Tests, I'm going to click up once because that'll take me to the end. And I'm going to run Lin-Reg T interval. Okay, X values are in list 1, Y values are in list 2. We want to test this with a 95% confidence level, and I'm going to hit calculate. Okay, so here is our interval for the slope of the line of regression. And notice one value is negative and the other value is positive. So because one is negative, the other is positive, 0 would fit in between. So 0 isn't going to be outside this interval, 0 is inside it. And that means the line of regression is not significantly different from 0 because 0 is inside the confidence interval for slope. Let me just quickly port over to the Texas Instruments calculator, the old one, the TI-83, just to show, my custom program. If this will turn on. There we go. Let me make sure. I think I put the values in. Yeah, I put the values in the list editor. Okay. So we have to go to the Programs button, go down to Lin-Reg T interval 83, hit enter twice. Okay, our list of X values were in list 1. Our list of Y values were in list 2 with a confidence level of 95%, 0.95. And then we have to wait. And we'll just let this chew away. Notice you can tell it's doing something with this little animation in the upper right-hand corner. Let's keep waiting. There we go. So here the lower bound for the interval is negative and the upper bound for the interval is positive. Okay, just like what we got over here. Now for the NumWorks calculator, we need to use the inference app and go to interval and do an interval around slope. So let me do that. So I want to click home. I want to go down to the inference app, click OK. I want to do intervals, go down to an interval around slope. I want to do it on this data set, X1, Y1. This is my salary and wins. So remember, I have to scroll down to the bottom in order to move next. I could change the confidence interval if it was anything other than 95%, but I'll stay with that. And then scroll down again. And here's my confidence interval. So negative 0.066 and positive 0.316. So the lower bound number is negative, the upper bound value is positive. All right, so our answer, the 95% confidence interval about the slope of the line of regression is here, where the lower bound number is negative and the upper bound value is positive. So which indicates this scenario where the lower bound of our interval is negative the upper bound of our slope interval is positive, and 0 sits squarely in between. So therefore, the sample line of regression slope is not significantly different from 0. So we would conclude there is insufficient evidence to conclude that there is a significant linear relationship between x and y because the slope of the sample line of regression is not significantly different from 0. All right. And in the previous question, I kind of toyed around with, well, we could make this work if we lowered the confidence level from 95 to 80%. It would work. It would be a good estimator. So what happens if instead of a 95% confidence interval, what if we created an 80% confidence interval? What would happen? So, it's a note, if the confidence level of the problem is lowered to 80%, then this is the confidence interval we get. And notice that both the lower bound and the upper bound are both positive. So this in turn indicates that we've got a positive lower bound slope and a positive upper bound slope for our interval, and 0 clearly is not within that interval. So therefore, at an 80% confidence level, the sample line of regression is significantly different from 0. And the sample line of regression does model the population line of regression, but you have to stipulate to an 80% confidence level. And that may be too low for what you really want. Okay. So continuing on to show question 4, I think you may still be having some questions as to kind of how this works. And so here you can see where it didn't work and then how we can kind of modify it to make it work. Okay. And I think, yeah, that concludes this guided example for doing like a linear regression and correlation analysis, answering those 4 questions from beginning to end. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions.